So I kind of got the idea for this from the company Hanshu. I think that's how it's pronounced anyway. They make a lot of kind of more budget and combat ready swords and knives. I mean, I don't really have a ton of experience with their stuff, but they're supposed to be carbon steel and they're no hand forged stuff. And I think most of my stuff could probably cut through them just because I use stronger steel than a lot of the stuff is. Not important. Anyway, so they have a series called was it Midnight Forge, I think. Basically, it's most of their stuff just with like a black powder coating on, making them solid black. They look really cool. Again, aesthetically, I love the look of a lot of their stuff. So I decided I'm gonna make my own kind of like that. They have a bunch. One of them's like a kind of a fighting knife type. It's sort of like a Tanto-ish look, but not really. Well, I suppose much the combat knife one that I uploaded about a month or two ago. That's going to be uploaded tomorrow, but, you know, as you're viewing this, it'll be a month or two. Also, not important. Anyway, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to make kind of a longer-ish knife, kind of in that shape, that I'm going to etch the whole thing black. I'm going to make both the guard and the pommel. Not quite sure how I'm going to do that yet, or what they're going to be shaped like, but they're also going to be made out of the same spring steel this is, so where they have that really dark gray, you know, almost black etch, instead of like the mild steel they usually use, which is more of a lighter gray. And then I'm going to have a stacked leather handle that I'm going to dye black. And hopefully it's going to look really cool when it's done. Kind of like a video game assassin or ninja type knife. So, you know, something like that. Well, it's cold out, so I'm going to turn the forge on so I can, you know, not freeze. So now that I have the rough forging of this blade done, surprisingly, I did it all in the evening. Usually it takes a couple days. But anyway, so what I'm going to do now is kind of refine the shape a little bit with the grinder, then take my big, wherever I put it, 7-inch angle grinder. Seriously, where did I put that? Huh, looks like I actually put it away for once. That's rare for me, I never put things away. Anyway, so I'm going to do is once I get shape, I'm going to grind the flats to get them nice and, well, flat. Grind my edges in, and then I'll probably take my angle grinder with a cutoff wheel, and then just cut a groove going along the length of it. And then I'll probably take just a regular grinding wheel, worn out one if I have it, like I said, it's worn out, and then open it up to make it just a little wider. So for my guard and pommel, I've selected these two actually extremely rusted pieces of spring steel. I would usually just use some sort of mild steel because it's a lot easier to work with and a lot cheaper. Although those were probably a lot cheaper since I got them at junkyards. Not important. Anyway, I selected these because I want to etch as dark as possible, and when you etch mild steel, it only turns kind of like a dull gray, and I want it to be almost like a black or storm gray, probably is close to what they spring steel etches at. So that's what I'm going to use. The guard is just going to be a simple, it's probably going to be about this thickness, but I want it to be flat with the corners just kind of triangled out, like I did with my Tanto combat knife that I did a couple months ago. So I'm just going to do that. I'll probably just hot cut my slot into it, because that'd be like trying to drill out spring steel. Drilling out spring steel is a pain, and I hate doing it. So then my pommel, I just got this, actually just a chunk of a dump truck leaf spring, so it's pretty thick, but it was like the very edge, so it's a little thinner than I want it to be. So what I'm gonna do is I'm just gonna put it in, just heat it up, hammer it out itself to widen it up a bit, and I'll probably just cut and grind it from there, drill a hole and then thread it, because that's gonna be the easiest way to put this together. Especially when I'm gonna do the stacked leather handle, you wanna thread those, because if you try and peen it out, the leather just keeps compacting on itself and you'll be there a while. Okay, now that I have my blade made and etched, that was a pain. It had a broken tap in it. 1/4 inch broken tap is hard to remove, especially because it broke below the surface of that. So everything was inside, and of course hard steel you really can't just drill out. A guy I was talking with at work mentioned you could just take a Dremel, got a slot in it, and screw it out like a screwdriver, which is actually really cool advice. I never thought about doing that, but it didn't work for this. Fortunately, last night I chucked it in the forge and heat cycled it several times. So the steel was no longer hard and I could just drill it out, and now I kind of have somewhat loose threads, but I'll fill it full of JB Weld and it won't be a problem. Because I am stacked leather, which uses JB Weld. Basically, I just cut out these little, mostly square pieces of leather, just rawhide leather. I'm gonna put JB Weld on them, slide them on the tang, and just keep stacking them up until I have a full handle. Screw this on where it compacts them together and let it dry. I am not gonna film that, not because it's uninteresting. Well, it is uninteresting. But mainly because I forgot my tripod out in my shop, and I don't want to go get it because my shop's locked up and it's cold out because it's like late November, so late November and dark out. So I'm gonna get back to you after I have all those stacked up and glued together. Okay, now that I have my leather all stacked up and glued, just about ran out of glue, but you know, that happens. Anyway, so what I'm gonna do now is gonna basically shape this. I always start by taking just the regular box cutter, same as I used to cut my leather, kind of shaving off the edges, shaving off just a little bit here. Then I go to a farrier's rasp, and then I'll kind of do a lot of shaping. I have another smaller rasp that I want to put like kind of grooves for my fingers on, kind of give it a more ergonomic look, hopefully. And then of course, kind of touch it with a belt sander and hand sand it, just to kind of smooth everything out, and then dye it black, so that way it fits with the whole assassin look of the blade.